Today's project is actually about the 944. I've actually going to do some work on it. There's a project today I want to do which I think might be useful to everybody. But before I do, I want to ask you all, is it possible you could click and subscribe and maybe share this video? And the reason I'm asking that, I don't really monetize my channel, but I do reach out to vendors with products and parts to see if I can get some help with them. And I always try and give them a plug. And when they look at my channel, I don't have an amazing amount of followers. Who I do have, I just, are my loyal followers who just find my videos valuable. So I always try to make a video which gives something back to you rather than promote my life. Anyway, so if you can click subscribe, that's awesome. Anyway, enough of that, get on with what today's about. So my 944, let me tell you what's been going on. So I started, let's come over here. I started first of all with wanting to change my brake pads. And as you can see, the whole suspension strut is out, and here's my 944. I've got it up, and what happened, originally started to change the brake pads, and I started to see all the rubbers busted in under here. So I've taken all the suspension out, taken the steering rack out. I'm actually in the middle of going to do the oil pan seal. So I've got the engine brace in place to actually get the cross member out from underneath over there. There's a cross member. I'll get the cross member out. I'm actually thinking of doing the clutch as well. I'm going to refurbish the power steering rack. I've got the kit to refurbish the power steering rack. They're just so expensive. Anyway, cut a long story short, I'm going to put a new exhaust system as well. I'm thinking of changing the turbo. While everything's apart, you know, I just might as well just do something with the turbo. If you remember last year, I rebuilt the whole top end. I will do the engine bearings underneath. I'm also going to do the rear suspension. I took the rear part. I'm going to get the front end done, but I've got shocks for the back and the front, and I'm going to change all the rubbers, etc. here. When I take the gearbox out for the clutch, I'll get that done. Anyway, so that's my 944. Started off with the brake pads, and when I took it out, I was like, okay, let's just go for it. So I put it up on the quick jacks, and here we go. So now, here's the thing. One of the things that's really interesting about when I took this suspension out, and I'm just going to quickly close the door to stop the light, 1 second. This is happening all real time, so we can get a better look at what's going on here. So one of the things that happened here is when I had a look underneath the suspension, you can see it's not in terrible. The discs are sort of all right, but I bought new discs. Pads, as you can see, are gone. I'm going to change all the brake hoses, but the bump stops had all crumbled away at the top of the suspension. These are the sealed cartridges, 944 Turbo, the upgraded sports suspension, but also the top mountings are crushed as well and bent. So I've bought some new top mounting rubbers. I'm going to be replacing them. But today, those of you know, these suspension struts here, let me just pull this around. These suspension struts are all one combined unit with the shock absorber, and to get these anymore today is pretty hard. I think Ian at 944 Online has some of these new old stock, but today you cannot get these shocks from KONI or from Porsche or anybody else. So one of the things that we're going to do is do KONI's next best thing. This is all gone, which is to take all this apart, and I'm going to do that, and I'm going to show you how to cut this strut open and replace it with a new cartridge. And KONI have got these cartridges, or these replacement shocks, which are cartridges which are adjustable, and there's a knob that goes on the top. And basically, we have to plug this into here. But to do that, we have to cut it all open. So we have to take all this apart, get this off, chop this up, drill a hole, cut it open. And there's a bit of measuring involved in that. And what I'm going to do is show you today how that's all done. It's the first time I'm doing it. We got some instructions from KONI. I've had a look at the instructions already. It seems pretty simple. The most critical part of these instructions are this bit here. This is really, really crucial, these measurements. And I will show you what these measurements mean as I get to that point in the actual cycle. So This is Mickey, stay tuned and let's get on with it. Okay, here we are. I've got a table laid out here away from my bench, which is pretty messy, just with the bits we need to do. So first thing is, I have stripped out the old shock, the old shock strut that comes in the 944. Now what I did do is I took it through the parts washer, and the paint job is, I was kind of thinking of repainting this before I did any work, but actually still not sure. Once we got all the cutting done, I still might repaint it because here's the new strut, slight difference in yellow. I don't think it matters too much, but it's the original paint. And one of the things I'm trying to do is try to keep this car as original as possible. So this is the strut out of that whole suspension that I just showed you just now. And we're going to get working on this. Now, before I get working on that, let me show you what comes in the KONI kit. So when you buy a KONI shock absorber for the front, just ignore this for a minute. You get the shock absorber, you get this boot, which you'll see where that goes. You get an adjustable adapter kit, which goes on top of the shock absorber to adjust the damper adjustment, I guess. I don't really know much about that yet. And this is the screw fixing for the bottom of the cartridge, when it goes in. So the idea is we're going to well, first of all, they recommend you check the length, and from here to here, and it sort of looks like the right length. Then what we're going to do, we're first going to drill a hole right in the center here, and I'll show you how I'm going to make a center hole there. We're going to chop this off, take the cartridge out, and we're going to insert this new one in, torque it up, and then we should be ready to go. So let me show you how that works. Now, part of what I wanted to do, I do have a vise on the bench, but what I wanted to do is try and show you how to do this. If you don't have a bench and you're doing it on the roadside, you don't have a vise in your garage, and my attempt in this one is in this refurbishment of the shock. I think it's called cutter strut or something, or strutter cut, as KONI call it. Process is, can we do it with a minimalist of tools? Now, I have bought a number of tools. First one is, instead of using a hacksaw to make the cut, I am using a pipe cutter. And I got a heavy duty pipe cutter. This I just got off Amazon for about 15 bucks. I just thought it was worth investing, even though I'm only doing it on 2 struts. I think it was just worth the investment to get a clean cut for 15 bucks rather than making a mess with a hacksaw. The other thing you need is a torque wrench, a drill. You need a 3mm drill bit and then a 13mm drill bit. I've got some blue lock, and I'll show you where I'm going to use that. A center punch, a marking pen, some tape, and I'll show you with that. And I've got this device here, and I bought this off Amazon, and it's I guess a jig or a template to find the center point of a circle, and I'll show you how that works, because I wanted to make sure that, one, I get the center of where we need to drill a hole, and I'll show you that in a second. But you know, for 10 bucks, it was just worth it. I could see myself using this again. It's also got a millimeter and an inch ruler built into it, which is perfect because we do need to do some measurements. So the first thing is, before we go any further, I want to do the measurements. I want to talk about the measurements a little bit. So let me just. Okay, you'll see this table up in the screen there. We're taking a Photoshop. Now, what it says here is the measurement on the new strut from here to these bumpy stops here. Whatever that measurement is, you look up on this table here. If that measurement here on the new strut is 36, then you've got to measure your cut point 30 down, so -6mm. If your measurement from here to here on the new strut is 46, your cut on the old strut is 40mm down. If your measurement is here from here is 56mm, your measurement on the strut to where your cutting point is 50mm, and so forth. Okay, so I am going to measure, just to show you where we're at. So on the actual strut itself, you can see this bump spot here. And those bump spots are actually friction points for when we pull the strut into the actual, when we pull the strut into here. But we want to measure from the, let me get the marker, pretty sure it's to the, okay, so what we're going to measure, just to mark it up to make it easy for you to see, is from the top of that bump to here, and it's 56 millimeters. So when I go back to the chart here, 56 millimeters on the new strut says I have to be 50 millimeters on the old strut to cutting point. So let me just get this closer so you can have a look. Me marking it up. So, right, so I'm just getting this in position. So we've measured from here to here, and it's 56 millimeters. So now, what I want to do is measure from here to here, 50 millimeters. I've got 50. And that's where I'm going to be cutting my mark. So I'm going to put this one side, measure 50 around this a little bit, so you can see. So you can see my camera tripod there. But I'm just going to do a couple of 50 millimeter marks. Two dots. So I'm just going to double check my measurement. So the next thing I want to do is mark the center point of this. And this is where this is going to be helpful. So what I'm going to do first is, so here's where this becomes really handy. So I can put this here, and if you can see, this goes here, and these two edges sit on the edge here. So I can do this, put that there, and I can, this is great about this tool, get the center point here. Could do it with a pencil or a Sharpie. And then I could turn this the other way, turn this another angle like this, and it gives me the exact center point, as you can see. So that's the great thing about this tool, it allows you to do that. Now, what do I want to do next? I want to center punch that, and great thing is, I have a push center punch, because I know where the center is. Bang on the center. Got a center point. I'm going to do it again. Right, I got my center point punched. Now, let me just go and load up my drill. I'm hoping this is going to be pretty simple. So I've got a 3mm drill, is what KONI recommend. They do recommend putting this in a vise, but like I said, I'm deliberately doing this in a way so that we can do it without the vise. And this should release the gas. This 3mm hole will release the gas in the strut. There we go. Did you hear it? The gas is out. Woohoo. It's quite cool. Right, now, just to show you, I have got my waste disposal bin. It's one of those liquids you have to dispose of. So I'm hoping some liquid will come out. There you go. Some oil's coming out. And what you do, just to show you, I'm going to push this up. I'm going to push the oil out by pushing the strut down. So I've just speeded up the video here because it takes a little bit of time to actually get the oil out. But what I'm doing is actually pushing the actual shock absorber up and down, and it's forcing the actual oil out of the strut itself. Okie dokie. What I'm going to do, just give it a wipe here, and I'm going to put some more tape over this. Some fresh tape to keep that hole sealed while we cut the other end. So let me just put right. So by the way, you can find this video somewhere on the internet. Okay. To do this, but it's a Mitsubishi strut they do, and not a 944 strut. Okay, so this is done. Right. We have this cut, 3mm hole. We're going to come back and drill that with a 30mm hole later. Now we've got to chop this off. And I'm going to use a pipe cutter. And this is where this comes in handy, because I can put this round here and cut it. So it means I'm not using the same type of force as a hacksaw. And so hopefully, let's see how that goes. Let me show you how that fits. So I've got this pipe cutter, and you put that blade on the cutting line that you want. I'm thinking that this might be the right way.
Using the pipe cutter was a great idea, and it was recommended to me. As I actually tried to use this pipe cutter and put it on and start cutting, I found that the pipe cutter didn't stay in one circle. It sort of started to make threads and coming off its alignment, and I found it hard to cut. So in the end, I decided to abandon the pipe cutter and use a different method. And I think it could have been just because the pipe cutter was cheap, or the steel on the strut was hard, but I was struggling to get a clean cut and ended to revert back to using an angle grinder.
Here we go.
So I've just sped this section up because it takes a little bit of time to get around. So I made a series of smaller cuts with the angle grinder, going around, making sure it was on the marks, and then eventually got through and actually cut through the steel to get the actual opening done to get the inner cartridge out.
It was much better doing that, and there we go. The old cartridge is coming out. Okay, we have chopped this off at the said height, if you can see the tape. What I'm going to do now is just file this off. I've just emptied the oil out. Now, the pipe cutter, for me, was just going to take too long. It was an advice given by one of the Porsche enthusiasts to use a pipe cutter, but I think I got a pretty good cut anyway. Let me go and get a file. Okay, I'm back. Not that you can see much, but I've actually put this through the parts washer to get all the excess gunk out. This does fit in, and you can see that bump stops it. Now, what we've got to do is drill that hole to 13mm, so we can put a nut in there to draw this in. So let's do that 13mm hole. Okay. You can't do it without the vise, that big hole. Just the drill bit's just too big. But here we go. The hole is bigger now, and it's big enough for this hexagonal bolt, which came with the KONI kit to go in there. And what we're going to do now is insert the cartridge into that side of the hole. By the way, I have filed all this off when I put this through the parts washer, and you can tell I put it through the parts washer because it's a little bit wet. We're going to drag this in, so let me just get set up for that. So we want to insert this into here, and if you can see here, these bumps are not in, and we want to bring this in by putting this nut in here. What we're going to do to drag the shock absorber into the cartridge using this bolt. Okay, right. So if you can see, so the screw's going in, and I'm going to bring it a bit closer so you can see what's going on. This is going to start coming in, and what you've got to do is drag this all the way in until these bumps go into the cartridge. Hope you can see. I'm going to put a little bit of a mark there so you can see what's going on. This is where the bump is. There's one here, and that's got to go. That's got to end up in, as you can see, it's going in. Sorry about the wobble. They've gone in. I'm bringing it right the way down. Now what I'm doing, there's still no tension, so I'm bringing this as far down it can. Right, so that's now come to a dead stop, and I'm going to undo this now. Because now what I want to do, now that's in, see what's going on here. Now that's in, I'll take this off, and you'll see the bottom of the cartridge is right at the bottom, and those bumps are fully gone in to the cartridge itself, so it's jammed. Now, next part of this is the washer, and they give you a little diagram on this inside here. Right, you get two washers with this, and you get a concave washer. Because this has got a dome here, you put the cup side in. If it was concave, do you do it the other way around? So we put the spring locking washer on there, and this that way. Now, so like I said, that's how the screw washer assembly's got to happen. But it's a lock washer, but for belt and braces, I am putting some blue thread lock on, just to make it, put too much on there, just to sort of belt and braces in terms of the screw. Now, obviously, the oil for the shock absorber is inside the cartridge, so we don't need any oil there. And you get this bit of diagram which sort of shows you what's going on. Now, I am going to... Right, at this point, I need a torque wrench, and this is where this one, 55, I've already set it to 55 pounds. And this nut is going to be set to 55. Okay, put this in the vise, 55 pounds. You can see how squashed that is. and that's in place now. So one bit left to do now, and that is, let's put this boot on. And what this boot does, just go over the top. And what this is going to do, there's a gap here, just to seal that gap. You could put silicone in there, but I don't think that's the right methodology to do. That's how it goes. So there we go. So that boot that came with it goes over there. And that's it. I mean, the rest of the kit is to do with after the installation when we put it into the strut. Full kit, new shock. Show you underneath. It's connected underneath, just there. That is now ready to go in. Now to buy one of these, or a pair of these, is like $1,800, I think, from online, 944 online. I think just because the whole strut is not available. But I bought these shocks. In the KONI special offer deal, which is going on till the end of June, 20% off. So I got front and rear shocks for just over $600, $633 for both front and rear shocks. Frankly, it's probably taken me, you know, it's the first one I did. The other one will probably take me less time because I'm not going to be filming the other one. It probably takes about, you know, after stripping it down, it's about 40 minutes to actually get this done. But look at it, perfect, ready to go in. Anyway, so this is Mickey, 944, checking out. I hope that's been useful. This is the cartridge or recartridge methodology, specifically on the 944 Turbo. The same methodology is used for all cars which have the same, you know, strut mechanism, because there's a lot out there where you can't get the replacement struts like this. So Subarus, etc. Some of them have similar arrangements as the 944. So the 944 is not exclusive in this problem, but this one was specifically on the 944. I hope that's been useful. This is Mickey checking out. Speak to you soon. Bye bye.